Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition. I'm Kaloy Tabundo Jr. from the New Era University School of International Relations. For today's episode, we will be talking about the implications to the tourism industry of the current outbreak of the coronavirus disease, or known as COVID-19, that was first reported from Wuhan, China on December 31, 2019. Although Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat has already assured that tourism in the country will not be drastically affected by the coronavirus disease 2019, there are still fears that China could slow down tourist arrivals in the country. Maybe because based on the Department of Tourism records, 1.63 million of the total 7.4 million international tourist arrivals in the country from January to November 2019 were Chinese, and that Chinese were also considered the second biggest tourist spenders in the Philippines after South Korea. Just during the first half of 2019, Chinese tourists spent $979.4 million, around 51 billion pesos in the country. Now, in an effort to help cushion the impact of the COVID-19 on the tourism and travel industry, House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano said 2 House committees would study measures to help mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on tourism. He said he has directed the House Committees on Tourism and Economic Affairs to start working with the Department of Tourism to assess the short and medium-term effects of the COVID-19 to ensure that tourism growth will not be derailed in the next few months. Now, to help us in our discussion of today's topic, we have here on the program a staunch advocate of medical tourism, Ms. Joyce Alumno. Ms. Alumno is the founder and president of Health Corps, the Center for Global Healthcare Management, Quality Accreditation, and Medical Tourism Services in the Philippines, conducting and facilitating workshops and conferences on international healthcare management that includes compliance to the accreditation standards of the Joint Commission International, TEMOS, Accreditation Canada, Swiss Approval ISO, and NABH International, among others. In 2019, she spearheaded the creation of Health, Retirement, and Tourism, or HEART Alliance in the Philippines, a private sector association that seeks to support the government in developing and promoting the Philippines as a global health, tourism, and retirement destination, where she eventually was elected as founding president. And right now, she is a new professor at the School of International Relations at the New Era University, and she will be lecturing on, guess what? Tourism. Good afternoon, Ms. Joyce. Thank you very much. Welcome to the program again.
Professor Kaloy or Dr. Kaloy. Thank you for also welcoming me.
Yeah, this is I think this is your 3rd time in the program.
Yes, but this time you welcomed me as a professor.
Yes, yeah, so this is your first time
as
as
School of International Relations. Do they know that you're the dean or the head of the School of International Relations?
I don't know.
So he's going to be my boss.
Okay, so, direct question. So, what's the update now on tourism with this COVID-19 scare? How are we now?
Locally and internationally, right? Because, of course, the phenomenon has become global. So it's not just in the Philippines that we are affected by this outbreak, or what we call as now a global epidemic, in fact, as was declared by the World Health Organization. And just a few days ago, our government, the Department of Tourism, made a pronouncement as to the impact that this could create in our economy. As you know, about 12.7% of the GDP in 2018 comes from tourism. That's even bigger than the contribution of agriculture.
Yes, yes.
And so because of also the Chinese being the #1...
Actually, #2 in the Philippines now. But #1 in the world.
In the world,
yes,
yeah.
Yes.
But in terms of tourist arrivals last year, #1 will be the the Chinese nationals. The year before that, it was South Korea, and then they were overtaken by the Chinese. So last year, 2019, there were 1.6 million Chinese nationals that came to the Philippines. Of course, you don't count there those people from Hong Kong, from Taiwan, So these are really just from the mainland China.
Okay.
So given that there are #1 tourism resource, I would say, or tourist arrivals in the Philippines, obviously this will create a rippling effect also in the economy. So it's not just tourism, but also in terms of the economic impact, because they're also one of our biggest,
the
trade
anchor industries.
Yes,
of tourism.
one of the strongest trade partners of the Philippines. So the situation now is that, of course, the Philippines and the government would have to come up with certain measures and programs in order to create a buffer. And maybe one of the things that they've been discussing is that to open new markets other than the Chinese market. And because there are other sources anyway. So South Korea is still very strong. Of course, we can expect, and hopefully we would like to get more tourists from the ASEAN.
Yeah, from our ASEAN neighbors.
Neighboring countries, our sisters and brothers, so to speak. And this is why it's ASEAN in focus. In fact, it has been a discussion even before this that, we're ASEAN brothers, so I think we should strengthen our collaboration and the promotion among the ASEAN countries.
It's high time for the ASEAN citizens to discover
each other. And there's no visa requirement, So one is regional promotion, which is ASEAN, which has no restriction on visa, because right now even the Chinese nationals were restricted from getting the visa on arrival as one of the measures, as you know. So the regional promotion among the ASEAN brothers and sisters, and at the same time, domestic tourism.
Pero, you said earlier, it's not just the tourism industry, but the other industries, the other sectors that are related to tourism. For example, aviation. At this point in time, do you see any really, of course, flights to and from China are already
temporarily banned.
Yes. So, may epekto talaga ito sa aviation industry.
Yes.
And immediately, the tourist facilities that usually accept tourists. So you see a slowdown siguro. Mga gaano katagal, how long will this happen?
Well, we still really don't know how long this will affect us. But then we have to always look at the future, right? So as early as now, there was already a downturn that was like 63% decline in Metro Manila hotels, was already experienced. And at the same time, there was an estimated 20 billion loss already.
20
billion pesos loss.
Since January?
For this January, although these are just estimates, but then I could imagine that, yes, this could be real numbers or could be even more because of, you see, tourism has a very large multiplier effect. It's exponential. So when you talk of tourism, you're not just talking of the hotels.
Yes.
You're not just talking of the restaurants. These are the primary tourism establishments. No, but there's the
suppliers.
Rippling effect. The suppliers, agriculture, of course,
entertainment industry.
Transportation. So that's why the tourism is really different from among the other sectors because of that multiplier effect that it's able to create. Tourism industry alone creates 5.4 million jobs.
That was
in the Philippines. That was the figure as of 2018 in the Philippines.
5.4
so
million
it creates
jobs.
5.4 million jobs to the Filipinos. Imagine the effect.
Direct and indirect.
Direct and indirect. And at the same time, as we spoke about it, the contribution to the GDP. So we're really hoping that we can create some measures. There are some programs already that are being discussed. One of them is the domestic tourism, really.
Okay.
So since the Filipinos are somehow prevented from traveling
so they
outside.
Because I know for a fact some friends who, when they have money, they would rather go to Hong Kong or Singapore than go to Cebu or Davao, for instance.
Because the reason for that is that the airfare usually is almost the same or even cheaper.
It's cheaper.
That's the reason why the discussion now is that they're encouraging the airlines to bring down.
Can they do that? Can they actually
yes,
do that?
naman. Of course, if there's volume, especially now, if you would like to really focus on domestic tourism, in 2018, there were about 42 million domestic tourists.
Okay.
42 million, imagine that, you know. So that's even higher than our 8 million. Yes. And I think now domestic tourism is being strengthened by the Department of Tourism. We're discovering more destinations. I myself, I have not even gone to Batanes myself.
Have you been to Sagada?
That one also is
you should
good.
Go there.
You know, it's one of my dream places. So I think this is about time. So at least we were able to shortlist, the places that we can go to. It's about time we discover our own country. Remember, we're an archipelago. We're not like the other countries that you can easily go to one place to another. But here, kasi you have to
fly. You have to use ship boats.
Yes. But so the airfare has to be brought down in order for the Filipinos to be encouraged to try the other places.
Isa-isa natin. So you said in order to prevent the drastic fall of the tourism industry, so among others, the airline industry. So that's the private sector. Okay. Who else? Yung mga hotels and
definitely the hotels. And of course this is mitigated further by the current Taal eruption.
But before we go that, can you compare the rates of our hotels here compared to other countries, for instance?
ASEAN? Yes. Well, with the Airbnb in the market now, it becomes more competitive, no. But I would say that generally speaking, they still find the Philippines accommodation rates as more expensive than the other leading ASEAN tourism destinations, and the likes of Thailand, or Vietnam,
Cambodia.
or Malaysia.
Of course, Singapore is expensive.
Yeah, Singapore is, but they have Airbnb.
Yeah, so there's really a need for the stakeholders in the tourism industry, the hotel operators, to really bring down their rates so that they can be more competitive and attract more Filipinos.
Definitely. This has been a discussion even before, Professor Caloy, because that makes us less competitive compared to the other
One thing
countries.
I noticed about Philippine hotels and other facilities, unlike, for example, when you go to the United States, they have peak season and off-season rates. Dito parang, whether it's peak or off-season, they don't.
It's almost the same, except that from time to time they would come up with some 20%, promo
Can something be done about that? I mean, can the DOT, for example, compel the hotel operators to?
The thing is, we don't regulate the prices. The DOT doesn't, I don't know if they're empowered, but they do not regulate the rates. In fact, this was one of the discussions before. Because of the star rating, remember?
Yes.
There was a discussion before that if you're 5-star, then these are the rates. If you're only 1-star, then this will be the rates that you can charge. But it doesn't follow. Sometimes even if it's a 2-star or a 3-star, they can still charge so much out of the perception that they're looking like 5-star, but they're really not.
I'm speaking about our experiences in the United States, for example. If it's off-season, they lower the price up to 70 to 80%.
Yes, really.
Why can't they do
big
that
discount.
here? Because I was in Iloilo several years ago, and there's this big tourism complex, somewhere in Iloilo. So the rate was something like 5,000 pesos a day. And nobody's there, no tourists. They said, can't you lower your price? This is our standard. So year round it's 5,000 pesos.
It's
that's
fixed.
$100. Diba? Parang, wow.
Well, see, that's the reason why you now have all this Airbnb. So the Airbnb, they're really competing with this accommodation sector, the really established hotel, the hotel establishments. Because of that,
can the DTI regulate the prices?
Right now, there's no discussion related to that. For me, the prime mover would be DOT if they will really regulate through the star rating system. Because the star rating will tell you that, of course, the 5-4 star spent more and give more value than the you know, the lower categories.
What about yung industry mismo? I mean, can they self-regulate the rates?
That's never in the discussion also.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
so regulation
will
have to be mandatory.
They do
Other countries, yes. For some of our ASEAN neighbors, I know for a fact that they follow that kind of price banding in terms of the rating.
With
the
the industry itself setting the standards.
Yeah. But more, it's usually market-driven.
Okay.
Yeah, it's dictated by the market.
Okay, sige. We will talk more about the different implications of the current COVID-19 virus to the tourism industry in the Philippines when ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition returns.
When visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. That you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition, and we're still talking here with Miss Joyce Alumno, who is now a professor at the New Era University School of International Relations. And we're still talking about the implications of the COVID-19 virus on the tourism industry in the Philippines. Earlier, we were talking about suggestions, actions of the private sector, the businesses, private businesses who are directly engaged in tourism. What more do you want to see from the government to address this situation?
I think the government has already responded to this, although, of course, there were claims that were pretty late in terms of our reaction to this. No? But those were comments that we've already gathered. But what's important is what we're doing now and how we would address this in the future. Because you see, this is something that's related to healthcare, of which I'm also very passionate about for the last 10 years of my life. Patient safety, risk management, and also prevention of medical errors. For me, since this is something that can be prevented because it's an infection, right? So, of course, it's a collaboration of all the government agencies now, the Department of Health being the lead agency here, because DOT and all the others are just, of course, beneficiaries, I would say, of the impact that this will create. In fact, several people were saying we've been preparing for wars, nuclear wars or missiles, when in fact we could just be hit by, you know, one virus, and it can easily spread faster than we know it. In fact, I call this really a silent killer because it's invisible.
In the security sector, we call this a non-traditional security threat.
It is, some they say it's a bioterrorism form, but you know, all this are
the conspiracy theories.
The conspiracy theory
which will be revealed decades from now. In the meantime,
we have to talk about the virus itself, you know, and how the different countries are addressing this. Of course, for countries that are developed, they're ready for something like this. But for developing countries, this is where the problem is. Ito ang sinasabi nila, Professor Kalo, if I can make it into Tagalog na lang, no, para mas maintindihan din nating lahat. Yung paghahanda ng pamahalaan tungkol sa ganitong bagay, of course, this is not blaming anyone. Of course, when we say government, it's the whole of, you know, the system. And we're not putting the blame on one person or, you know, the leaders, but we're talking about the system itself naman na tinitingnan natin saan nagkamali yung sistema, bakit nagkakaroon ng mga ganitong problema. This is about quality management system. That's why being a quality auditor, we don't blame it on the person, but we check if the system, we have the right system in place. And generally speaking, yung sinasabing, wala talaga pang nakitang sistema na handa ang buong bansa for something like this, and more so with developing countries.
But we have experienced something like this before.
2003 for SARS, and then you have the MERS-CoV. Kaya lang, habang tumatagal, alam mo, patindi ng patindi. You know, the virus becomes stronger. Kasi like, for example, stronger, well, not in the sense of fatality rate, because the fatality rate of COVID-19 is just about 2%, 2.6, 2.3%, compared to the SARS, which is about 40+%.
Yeah, but we didn't experience this same scare and effect on the tourism industry.
You know what's scary here for me personally is the, you know, the speed of transmission. The speed of transmission, because the impact, and also you don't see the signs, the symptoms immediately. And like with SARS, you see the pneumonia symptoms, the fever, the cough.
Now 14 to 24 days pa ata na
here,
incubation
you don't
period.
see it. Yeah, those who died said they didn't know that they have it, you know, and they didn't know that they were passing it on, or that they were talking or had contact with people who have the COVID-19. So really, it's invisible, no, if you come to think of it. So you will only get to know it, the one in the US, on the 8th day. That's when they started seeing the symptoms. So when we're talking of the government, of course, our plea is that we be more focused on prevention and risk management, so that we're not always, you know, we're not reactive to the situation once it's already there. And I can talk about another virus, which is TB, tuberculosis, right?
Traditional killer.
Traditional killer. 76 years ago, our president died of tuberculosis, correct?
Yes.
And as of last year, still 1 million Filipinos
Actually, I think it's still one of the #1 killers.
Actually, we're number 3 in the world.
Okay.
WHO says we're number 3 in the world, but number 1 in Asia. So the sad part, it's not something that I'm proud of. It's not something that, you know, I'm saying that something that's negative for the country. But what we're saying is that 1 million diagnosed last year, 26,000 died
from TB.
So it's about 70 persons a day die of TB. And there's a cure already known for that. And there's a prevention that's known for that. But still, why does that happen? Now, you talk about COVID, something that we don't know. So just imagine how much it can really drastically affect us.
It's creating panic. Diba?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so if it's pagdating sa panic, it's the citizens themselves who are involved. So how should the citizens react? For example, we get all of these stories when they see, actually, it's hindi na bordering, it's really racism na, di ba?
Yeah,
when they see somebody who is Chinese looking.
That's what's sad.
Oh, that's sad. So,
Naku, you're Chinese looking. So it should not be against the Chinese nationals. It's actually about the travelers who came from China. So it can be an Australian, it can be a British person, you know, who could be a potential carrier of the virus. But wag naman, let's not generalize that it's the Chinese people.
How should citizens now react? So, kasi of course, yun nga so we have fewer tourists. Ako nila, wala ngayon tourists from China. Pero when this thing is over, for example, sabi nila, it can plateau somewhere February or March, and then by April, hopefully it will vanish, specifically when they discover the new vaccine now. So how should citizens react now vis-a-vis tourist arrivals?
Historically, Professor Caloy, in the case of SARS and MERS, the impact was, or the, I would say, recovery took effect after a year. So that was what the history tells us, that you will only feel the recovery that somehow you have already, you know, gotten back on track to normal situation. It's after a year. But we're hoping that with the technology that we have now, this can really be reduced and settled down soon. Unlike before, of course, there was no digital, you know, social media. You still don't have all this platform. But now, communication is faster. But at the same time, that also made things faster. The virus spread faster.
Fake news spreads faster than the virus.
That virus, the fake news spread faster. But the technology actually gives my disadvantage and advantage. The advantage now is that madaling nako-communicate sa mga sa ating lahat.
When all of this is over and the Chinese are going back here again, kasi we foresee, of course, it's really a result of political, actions from the government. That's why we have these Chinese tourists flocking to the country. And if this is over, we will see once more the influx of more Chinese. So, how should the citizens now react? Racism doesn't help. Okay.
It doesn't help. But for me, I think it's an eye-opener that we have to, tap on other markets internationally. I think the Chinese will come here, whether we like it or not, because they have businesses here.
Okay.
Right? So there will be a natural influx of the Chinese nationals here, because it's not just because of tourism, but because their work is here, right? So since I believe that we have somehow established a market in China, then maybe we can open other markets. And there are several of them, especially the European market. The European market, well, they're more on the aging population. That's why we have to position ourselves for another type of tourism product, and that's the health and wellness retirement that we have been trying to advocate.
Okay, we will talk about that later in this part of the program. So, offhand, do you see our current response, at least vis-a-vis the tourism industry, enough? Or are you satisfied with how we are responding to this present crisis?
I think it has to be a collaboration of many agencies. We have to talk more, and coordination, of course, from the Department of Health. Of course, the directive is coming from WHO and to the Department of Health, and that has to be cascaded to the different agencies involved, DOT for one thing. We're seeing better coordination now than before, but of course, I think this is more of a reactive
than a proactive
strategy rather than. So I think what we need to do now is to become more proactive. That we should look beyond the COVID-19, but we should also look at the different calamities even, you know, calamities and other viruses and other disasters that could, in fact, affect our tourism sector. And there are several of them. Maybe we can talk about later about the calamity that just hit us at the same time that we were hit by the
one
virus.
After another. But can you please repeat the figures? How many Filipinos are involved in the tourism industry?
5.4 million as of 2018.
And tourism contributes to how
about
much?
12.7% as of 2018 again. So it's one of the main economic drivers of the country. Although it's still a little lower than the other ASEAN neighbors.
But still it's a growing industry.
It's a growing industry.
Its contribution to the economy is 12.4% is 12.4% of our total GDP.
Even higher than agriculture.
Yes.
You know, so.
Okay, sige, we will talk more about the different issues concerning disaster, the effects of disasters on tourism in the Philippines when ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition returns.
Thank you.
Accurate and fair reporting. Not only from Batanes to Tawi-Tawi, but also abroad. Detailed and timely stories relevant to people all over the world. Catch all of these at Net25. Your reliable source of news, entertainment, and technology updates.
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition, and we're still here with Miss Joyce, Alumno from Health Corps, and of course from the University School of International Relations. And we're still talking here of the effects of disaster in tourism. Okay, for the first two segments, we're talking about the COVID-19 virus. Another disaster that has recently impacted on our tourism is the Taal volcano eruption. So, anong epekto nito sa tourism?
Yun nga, magsabay-sabay, ano, from all angles, calamity, and then you have healthcare related, but then all of them actually affects health in the process. Well, this is something that we have been talking about, that any industry for that matter, any business should be more proactive than reactive, but the natural tendency, of course, is to always react once it happens. And I believe that this is an eye-opener. Ang dami ng eye-openers, no?
And then after that, we close our eyes again.
We close our eyes again, and then you open your eye again, you know? Parang pagka, hindi na, kailangan ina-nudge ka from time to time because, you know.
For example, Taal, the volcano island, diba, that has been declared as a no-man's zone.
Zone already.
And yet you see on TV, it was being shown on video na while the
pala
volcano was erupting, saka parang tumatakas
exactly.
yung mga
And then
tao.
2018, Mayon volcano also erupted of almost the same magnitude.
Pero
you know?
Taal and Mayon, let's accept it. These are tourist magnets.
Yeah.
Pero when disasters strike, how ready are we to assist the tourists? I mean, to binabawalan ba na ito? Paano ba yung dapat na response natin sa ganito?
You know, kasi although Department of Tourism is there, the actual implementation is in the local government.
Okay.
It's in the LGU.
So the role of the local
government. Like for example, the role of DOT is to set the standards and the guidelines for the tourism establishments in terms of kasama naman doon yung we call it BCP or the Business Continuity Program or Business Continuity Plan of the hotels and the different
And local governments are supposed
tourism
to have
establishments.
tourism officials.
They also have local, from the DOT, and then they also have their own tourism officers, you know. Yun nga, because of course DOT is national. So you give it to the regional officers and also to the local government to implement it properly. The gap there is when DOT says, this is our standard, and then the local government naman has a different requirement. For example, I'll give you, talking of healthcare, sanitary permit.
Okay, sige.
Sanitary permit is required from every company every year for renewal, di ba?
Renewal, yes.
But before you can renew your mayor's permit, kailangan may sanitary permit ka. And the sanitary permit should be issued by the Department of Health. But how is it really being implemented, yung ating mga sanitary inspection? And dun mo nga makikita, may mga mahigpit, merong hindi mahigpit. And the guidelines are not very clear. Pag pinagbangga mo ngayon yan, meron kang LGU na nag-check ng sanitary. It can be from the Department of Health through the LGU. And then meron ka namang from the Department of Tourism na meron namang standards. Hindi sila nagtutugma. So sino yung mangingibabaw sa dalawa? Because sanitary permit is required for the license to operate. So mas nangingibabaw si sanitary than the accreditation ng DOT. Okay. So ibig sabihin sa DOT, kapag binigyan na ng sanitary permit, automatic ba na okay na kay DOT? Dapat hindi. Kasi it's a mandatory requirement ng Department of Health, but DOT has more or has higher standards than the basic standards required by the local government.
And that's not being followed.
Yun
mostly.
Yung, kaya implementation ang laging nagiging problema. Kasi pag sinabi na, may sanitary permit naman, di pwede na. Accredit mo na rin kami, yung gano'n.
Actually, I have this experience actually last month. Or a few months ago, I went to one of the provinces in the Cordilleras. And the one who invited me there billeted me in one of the, probinsya naman kasi, one of the quote-unquote more popular hotels there. And lo and behold, in one night I transferred in 3 rooms because of cockroaches. So how are you able to get a sanitary permit if you have cockroaches all over your place, di ba? I remember you experienced this when we were in India.
Yeah. So hindi lang Pilipinas yan, di ba? Baka naman sabihin na Pilipinas lang sinasabi mo na. In India, di ba?
So when they were able to get a mayor's permit, kasi pinayagan, di ba? Siguro may sanitary permit, pero if it's really the DOT, and it's supposed to be DOT accredited, kasi at the door of the lobby of the hotel center, DOT accredited. What? Yun
nga, Kaya yung stringent, saka syempre, kailangan, ang standards kasi nag-evolve din yan kaya nga may 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ibig sabihin, yung 5, mas matataas yung standard na hinihingi mo. Halimbawa, kapag mga 5-star, for example, yung mga, let's talk about the kitchen. Dapat halos bagong, ang furniture mo, saka pristine, clean talaga yan. Kapag ka 4, sasabihin lang, slight wear and tear, ganyan. Kapag ka 3, clean, ganyan. Kapag ka 2,
pero very subjective yung clean.
Very subjective na yung pagka sa in-audit mo. So sa atin kasi, dapat maging mandatory na halimbawa yung pest control. Gaano kadalas ba dapat mag-pest control? Pakitaan ka lang na, nagpa-pest control kami once a year. Is that enough? Yung ganon. So you need expert talaga na auditors din para sabihin na, yung ganitong klaseng kondisyon, kasi luma na, hindi na pwedeng once a year lang. Pero kung bagong-bago, then probably pwedeng, I'm just saying probably once a year lang. So it's a case to case. So you need experts to really look into all this.
DOT should be more strict, but unfortunately the local governments don't necessarily cooperate with
Hindi
DOT.
kasi siya dati ginawang mandatory na, it was only recently, I think that was last year, but tuwang-tuwa kaming lahat finally, na ginawa ni Secretary Anyo na local, it's mandatory that the establishment should have DOT accreditation. Pero yung actual implementation,
yun na nga I said, DOT accredited. What did you accredit here? The cockroaches? Sorry. Anyway, so,
yun yung mga bagay. So, safety, di ba? So, sinasabi natin, yung resiliency natin kapag halimbawang may calamities na ganito. Okay, the physical infrastructure, meron kasi naman from our building code. So, building code, sasabihin, safe na. Kaya lang kasi, meron tayong tinatawag na medical emergency.
Yes. Yan nga, when disaster strikes.
When disaster strikes, how
Kumusta?
ready our establishments, tourism establishments for that matter, dun sa medical emergency? Kasi sanay tayo sa fire emergency, police, or halimbawa, sinama na nga natin nung mga nakaraan itong calamity, terrorism and man-made disasters. Pero medical emergency, hindi siya
Okay, especially if it's tourists.
nakasama.
So
Ang meron tayo, first aid.
First aid.
Okay, first aid is different from a medical emergency. What am I saying here? Kapag nagpunta ka ba sa hotel, Professor Kaloy, tinatanong ba sa'yo kung may allergy ka?
No.
Tinatanong ba sa'yo kung meron kang condition ng diabetes?
Kung may high blood ka
Kung
ba?
may high blood ka ba? Or do you have a condition in the heart and all that? We don't ask them.
Okay.
So, nangyayari, yung mga hotels, hindi sila, pag halimbawa biglang inatake, or hindi nila alam, nagpa-opera pala and then nag-check-in sa kanila, nagkakaroon ng mga medical emergencies, hindi sila
prepared for
prepared for it. Lalo na sa traffic natin sa Pilipinas. Meron akong isang hotel na experience nga na inatake. Ang ospital actually ay 1 kilometer away lang.
But given the traffic in Metro
in Metro Manila, dumating yung ambulansya 30 minutes later.
Ow.
They lost the patient, obviously.
Okay.
So ito yung mga bagay na kapag yun yung guest safety,
Is
and
this
that's
a five-star
one thing that
hotel?
yes,
Oh,
it's a
boy,
5-star
okay.
hotel. It's a 5-star hotel. When I talk to them, handa lang sila sa first aid, and they are confident that the hospital is just 1 kilometer away. But given the situation, you cannot be so confident.
They don't have
1
a zip line
kilometer
from the
away
hotel
lang.
to the hospital.
Kung pwede nga lang ganun. But now there's the emergency drone na, di ba, supposed to be. So ito yung Professor Khalid, that's what we have been advocating on top of the certification or the accreditation. Yun yung dinevelop ng Health Corps because we're really into patient and guest safety in all the establishments.
That's in Metro Manila pa. What about the other provinces? Tourist magnets then? Do they even have hospitals within the next 10-kilometer radius? Ganun, di ba? And then, for example, yung nga, nag-earthquake, may natrap, or sige, inatake during the earthquake. So, mas lalong hindi na ready. So,
Oo, lalo na yung mga tourist destination natin na medyo adventurous, di ba? Yung mga tipong mga Siargao,
Yes.
Baler, yung mga ganyan. Kasi these are adventure...
Even Boracay, of course.
Of course, Boracay for the beach, and then meron mga dive spots, So, itong mga to, kailangan talaga ready yung mga healthcare facilities natin. So, if they lack the healthcare facilities there, then the hotels and the resorts should be ready for it.
Yes.
Kasi chances are, for example, in Boracay, how many good hospitals do we have there? You have community hospitals there, and they're not fully equipped. They're not tertiary hospitals, So, ita-travel mo pa yan sa Kalibo. So, if that is the case, kung doon ka nagtayo ng hotel at ng resort, kailangan i-equip mo yung facility mo in case na may mangyari sa guest mo. And that's something na hindi natin pa masyadong...
Can that be mandated?
I hope it can be made
By the
mandatory
government?
by the
So,
government.
kailangan ba
It
ng
should
batas
be
doon?
part.
Does the law?
I think it can be, in fact, pwedeng simulan yan sa mga local government. Di ba? They can make their own ordinances and a requirement bago ka mag-operate. Dapat, in fact, I heard Parañaque, yung sanitary permit nila, naging mas stricto sila ngayon.
Okay.
So kapag hindi pumasa sa sanitary inspection, isasara ka talaga.
So who should be mandating this one?
Well,
Kasi
there has to be,
if it's a law, medyo matagal.
Matagal, yeah. So, the ordinance can be one. Yun yung pinaka mabilis na gawin.
So this is part of your advocacy?
Yes,
particularly
this is part of
for
our advocacy.
tourist magnets?
Yes, for tourism establishments. Of course, we have healthcare. So, we're into accreditation of healthcare facilities that's been there for the last, 10 years. So, we're representing international accreditation agencies for that. But given probably the knowledge and the technical expertise that we have on healthcare facilities, we would like to now bring that also to the tourism establishments.
So medical care should be a big part. It should be an integral part of tourism.
Definitely. You're talking of safety, right? Kapag nag-food poison, saan mo ba dadalhin?
Sa albularyo pag nasa probinsya.
Pwede. Oo. So, na-food poison, nadulas, nalunod, or so
Okay.
inatake dahil naging sobrang saya, simple stomach upset, yung mga ganon. So, saan mo dadalhin siya? So, it has to be integrated.
So, medical care, actually advanced, tertiary medical care ba, should be incorporated
Doon
with
sa
the
mga
tourism.
prime talaga na areas like Boracay, yung mga I would say
Top
top
tourist spots in the
destinations
Philippines.
natin na talagang napakaraming turista, that should be made a requirement. But also for places na sobrang layo. For example, Sagada, nandun sila sa pinakamataas na bundok. I mean, how would
They
you
have a
allow
hospital
them?
there, but I don't think it can attend to major complicated cases.
Oo, yun yung mga, dapat prepared sila. Halimbawa, yung mga tipong mayroon silang defibrillator. Alam mo yun?
Meron naman siguro.
Hindi
Wala.
lahat. So, upon our inspection, hindi kasi siya required.
Okay,
So, since
sige.
hindi required,
Okay.
okay lang na wala.
Okay, sige. We will talk more about the different issues in medical issues, medical concerns related to tourism when ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition returns.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
Welcome back to ASEAN in Focus Weekend Edition, and we're still here with Miss Joyce, Alumno, who is the president of Health Corps, and this time she will discuss to us one of the organizations, private sector association that she helped form, the Health, Retirement, and Tourism, or HEART Alliance of the Philippines. Can you tell us about this?
HEART Alliance, so it's Health, Retirement, and Tourism Alliance of the Philippines. We know that the medical tourism program was launched a decade ago.
Yes.
In fact, more than a decade ago already.
How do we fare when it comes to medical tourism?
At first we were one of the leading destinations when we started it.
Wow.
But, medical tourism needs the support of the government for it to really work, because you're talking of health care and you're talking of insurance. So there has to be the support of the government sector, obviously. But now we're trying to promote it again, but probably we've taken a look at the market where we can be good at. Of course, we cannot be everything to everyone. There are areas where we cannot really provide, I'd say, in terms of the capacity, not because we lack the skill to do it, but the capacity because we only have 2,000 hospitals, and then we only have very few heart centers or heart specialty hospitals. So for areas where we lack the capacity, we said we will not promote that internationally first.
Okay.
So for this association, which is actually a private sector organization that partners with the government, so we safeguard the reputation, we safeguard the services and the credibility of the services that we offer. Also, the partners or the providers, we only choose the ones that are ready to serve the foreign patients, past the international standards of patient care. Okay. So for us, we are first focusing on the aesthetics and dental procedures. So because we're very good at that.
Plastic surgeries?
Yeah, more on the beautification, So, because now we've seen the market even for young population, even for Korea, for example, although it's one of their best services, they'll go here because it's more affordable here.
Yeah, I know for a fact I have friends from the
Yes.
U.S. who, whenever they come here, they have scheduled, plastic surgeries with one of the leading
So it
plastic
can
surgeons
be,
here in the
it
Philippines.
can be, nose lift, and then you can, usong-uso rin ngayon yung ano daw, ano yun? Hugis bigas na face, yung maliliit.
Hindi hugas bigas,
Hindi hugas
hugis
bigas.
bigas.
Hugis bigas na mukha. So,
Oblong.
Oo, yung parang, saka maliit na maliit
Ayan,
daw yung ano
butil
mo,
ng
yung,
bigas.
yung
Okay.
mukha mo, ganyan.
Ngayon ko
So,
lang
they
narinig
come
yan.
here,
Oo.
like yung mga Koreans, kasi Koreans normal, plump yung ano
Yes,
nila,
yes.
karamihan. Saka, sa kanila kasi, pagdating ng 18 years old, hindi na party ang hinihingi.
What?
Aesthetic surgery. Yun yung, yon ang hinihingi na. So, regalo yan sa kanila. And we've seen some of them, or I would say a lot of them, going to Cebu. Kasi
Cebu,
popular ang Cebu sa Korea. You know what? For some countries like Korea, Japan, akala nila ang Cebu is a country.
Yeah.
Hindi
that's why
nila alam that it's part of
I
the
know that
Philippines.
kasi yung airlines,
Diretso
Cebu
sa
Pacific.
Cebu. Oo.
So akala na Cebu is a country in the Pacific. I know some foreigners who
So,
think that way.
diretso sila sa Cebu, no? So, we've seen a lot of them. At the same time, yung dental services natin, yan din yung
Of course, we
isa
have
sa
one
promote
of the best
natin.
dental services.
And also very affordable. Saka hindi kasi siya covered ng insurance ng ibang bansa. It's out of
okay.
pocket. So kapag out of
okay.
pocket, mahal sa kanila yon sa US, sa Europe, sa Australia.
That's why they flock here,
So they come here kapag sinasabay na nila ng bakasyon, especially the mga Filipino immigrants from different countries. So yun yung low-hanging fruit mo, Filipino immigrants sila, pero foreign passport holder na kasi sila. So parang kino-consider na rin sila as part of the medical tourists or medical travelers. But what you would like to get are those really foreign nationals that they come here for the procedure because right now, statistics shows that $120 per day ang ini-spend ng isang turista sa Pilipinas.
And that's
On the
cheap for their
average.
standard.
For them, it's
Yeah.
so...
Kasi isang hotel lang yun na mumurahin sa US.
Yes, it's so
$120.
cheap. For example, ang dental, yung tooth extraction sa kanila, they will easily spend $1,000, for example.
I know.
Eh dito sa atin, parang 500 piso, meron ka na,
Yeah.
parang ganon.
I know because I remember when we were still living in the States, my two sons underwent yung root canal.
Root canal, oo.
And that's $3,000.
Imagine.
For each of them.
Eh, yung $3,000, pwede na silang pumunta
That's
dito. ng ticket.
150,000 pesos.
Dito, punta ka, may ticket ka na, may hotel ka na,
May root
nakapamasyal
canal
ka pa, may root canal ka, of course. So that's something na we were still promoting. But of course, we would like to make sure na safe.
Pero I'm surprised that even the Koreans pala go here for their plastic.
Mahal kasi maganda sa kanila, pero yun nga, may kamahalan. So, kung mga simpleng procedure lang naman na, magaling na magaling tayo sa mga, alam mo, mga, you know.
So you're promoting that?
We've started promoting that until nadatnan nga kami nitong Taal eruption. It's itong COVID, and then with the one death in COVID, medyo somehow that's
so
something
you
that we
feel
have to.
you already feel the effect?
No naman, in the sense na hindi pa kami talaga lumabas ng bansa to promote it.
Okay.
We were just about to.
So you
We were
plan to go
sworn
on
into office last October
Okay.
by Secretary Duque of Department of Health, the officers. And then we were just about to really
To embark
on
on the roadshow
this
outside,
January, and also medyo I think we will have to change some of the strategies which we are going to
So
share
may epekto talaga itong
eventually.
COVID virus?
It's the perception of course, when a person travels to another country, one, they look at the security, safe ba ako? And then safety. And then nakita nga natin the first death outside of China was
In the Philippines.
in the Philippines.
Kahit hindi naman
So
talaga
that has, kahit hindi naman siya talaga Filipino. Oo. So
Okay.
those have, definitely an impact.
So which parts of the Philippines are you promoting? Cebu, for one.
Metro Manila, we have a lot of
Okay.
good hospitals here. As you know, the concentration of the hospitals are really here in Metro Manila. And then you have Cebu, you have Davao. So we've identified already some of the destinations for health, tourism, and also for retirement, which
Okay, so this is different.
I'm very proud to say
Okay.
that just today I read the news that we were one of the top 20 retirement destinations by the Americans, by the
Okay.
Forbes magazine. So that's something positive naman for us.
Pero of course, may epekto yung Taal volcano because you
Oo,
are
Subic and
promoting
Tagaytay yung
Tagaytay.
Subic and Tagaytay yung primary destinations na pinili nila.
Okay.
But of course, aside from Subic and Tagaytay, marami pa naman di ba? Punta naman sila sa Baguio kung gusto nilang, although medyo puno na rin, but we see a lot of
Problema sa Baguio, traffic.
traffic
Okay.
and the crowding.
So,
in some
how do you
areas.
promote the Philippines?
We have our own strengths.
Okay.
And aside from the natural attractions of the Philippines, of course, all the islands and beaches, of which we're renowned and top, all the rest in terms of the quality of our beaches and the beauty of our beaches, it's our people.
Okay.
The people, the hospitality, and the friendliness of the people pa rin, yun yung I think is difficult to duplicate by other countries.
Yeah, I don't want to sound spoiler. Pero we're part of the Pacific Ring of Fire and typhoons are manufactured here in our part of the world. So paano does that figure in your marketing?
That's where we should be more proactive in
Okay.
terms of our preparedness because people know that we are in the Ring of Fire. At the same time, some people, they try to ignore that, but they just want to make sure naman that once they are here, they're safe. I mean, the storm doesn't come
Every day.
every day. The virus doesn't come also. Oh, a virus is everywhere, every day. The common colds and coughs. But at least if they come here, they know that if something happens,
Yun
they
na.
will still be safe.
Okay.
And they'll go home
Happy.
alive and happy.
So,
So
our
those are the
strength,
things.
so we have facilities in selected places. You have hospitals. You have doctors, of course.
For us, we only promote the tourist destinations that are near the accredited hospitals. Because as you say, internationally accredited, these are hospitals that have met the global standards of patient care.
So, sino magka-qualify dyan? Metro Manila?
We have already in
Cebu.
Davao, we have in
Okay.
Cebu, we have across Metro Manila, we have a lot of them already. So we focus on, the establishments, aesthetic centers or dental centers that have, that are near the hospitals. Also the hotels that have a partnership with this hospital. So in any case of
So, yung
eventuality.
ganun, so hotels should have partnerships with hospitals.
If they do not have the facility inside, at
Okay.
least they should have a MOA, and
But of
it
course,
should
can you
be
name a
very,
hotel?
very closely located in a hospital.
But of course, do you know of any hotel in the five-star hotel in the Philippines that has a partnership with the major
Yes,
hospital?
at least for our association, we make it a requirement
Okay.
that when we promote you as a health tourism facility, your hotel, for example, or your resort, then we guarantee that there's the right healthcare service that will be provided in case something happens. So that's part of the.
So how many associations
services.
or how many tourism stakeholders are involved in your association?
Right now, we only have 18 because these are the charter founding members.
Okay.
And we're trying to grow that. But of course, there are accreditation requirements,
Okay.
qualifications. So it's not like
You're the one doing.
everybody
You're the
can-
one doing the accreditation.
Yes, we're the ones. Well, number one, all the internationally accredited facilities that have been recognized already by an international agency that's already automatically a member. But for those that are not, then we set the criteria for them to join. So they will hear more about those things once we officially launch the association.
Pero of course, sabi mo nga medyo na-delay yung full blast because of itong nangyari sa COVID.
But it's good. You know why? Because then we will be able to do it the right way.
Okay. Oo
Because
nga, no.
even before we launch, then we will really be more prepared. It's not just the disaster that we should be prepared for, but viruses like this. We were only talking before of heart attack,
Yes,
you know, in case of any drowning or things like that. Now, virus is something that
And
we
you think
have
you will be ready? The Philippines will be ready.
we can prepare for
Okay.
it.
And
We just have to be very proactive. Risk management is very important. Business continuity plans are very important. We should be OC when it comes
Yes.
to healthcare. When we're dealing with lives, a 99.9% will
Okay.
never be enough for
And you're
us.
positive that the Philippines will be prepared, the tourism sector will be prepared. Of course, the government, of course, with some proddings. The local government unit should be there. the stakeholder, the different tourism organizations, and then the hospitals and all other stakeholders who are engaged in medical tourism will be prepared whenever a disaster or something like that,
an epidemic
occurs.
like this occurs.
And this will, be, of course, this will bode good for the economy and the Philippines in general. Okay, thank you very much, Joyce.
Thank
and
you,
I hope
Professor
to see you again
Professor Caloy.
I hope to see you again
much.
in one of our future episodes. In the
Thank
meantime, that's all for now. Thank you very much. I'm Kaloy Tabunda, and I'm 1 with 25.